Hi, I'm Scott Flowers with Cloud Ninjas, and today we're here to talk about Dell PowerEdge T110 server memory upgrade kits and how to properly load, install, and configure the system. Well, hey, thanks for stopping by today to learn a little bit more about the Dell PowerEdge T110 server. Do us a favor, if you find anything useful in this video, click the like and smash that subscribe. Well, let's get started. First things first, there is one CPU socket. It's an LGA 1156. It takes Intel Xeon 3400 series. It also takes Intel Core i3 processor 500 series, as well as a number of different Pentium and Celeron options as well. As far as the RAM is concerned, there are 4 DIMM slots inside. It takes DDR3 memory. It only takes one type of memory, and that is ECC unbuffered, which is your traditional server UDIMM. There's a number of different sizes that it uses. It uses a 1 gig, 2 gig, 4 gig, or all the way up to an 8 gig. And we'll talk a little bit more about the 8 gig because that's one of the things the spec sheet will actually say it only takes 4 gigs for the T110. Now the T110 too, which if you're interested in that, we have a video that you can click on the link right here, and we'll get you to that as well. But for the T110, it says on the spec sheet it only takes 4 gigs for 16 gigs of RAM, where it actually will accept 8 gigs, but you just need to make sure you have the latest BIOS. So that's the key for being able to use 8 gigs for your T110. There's a number of different speeds you can use. You can use 1066, 1333, 1600, all the way up to 1866. I will be honest with you though, if you want to use the 1600, 1866, it's just going to clock down to the 1333. So if it costs more, there's really no benefit, and you might as well just get the 1333. As we mentioned, there's one type of memory, which is ECC unbuffered. With ECC unbuffered, you can max out at a total of 32 gigabytes via 4 8 gigs at 1866 megahertz. So now that we know a little bit more about the machine, let's go ahead and open it up. But before we do, I'm going to grab my ESD gear. You never really want to be inside your machine without some kind of protection, or you might accidentally give it a little shock and potentially damage the parts inside. If you're at home and you use this as a gaming desktop, or even just like your office desktop at home, one of the things that I will note, if you don't have ESD gear, just don't open it on top of carpet. If you can unplug it and put it onto a table, or if you have a piece of metal laying around, like copper in particular, if you grab the copper, it'll actually help to dissipate some of the ESD off your hands, and then you can get in there, just be a little bit safer. Just a couple things that you can do. So anyhow, I'm going to grab my ESD gear and I'll be right back. All right, now that we have our ESD gear on, we're safe to open the machine. It's very simple. It's just like a lot of desktops, except for the latch is on top as opposed to the side. You're just going to pull the latch like this, and you'll notice that the top right here will pop off. Okay. So what I'm going to actually do is flip it and show you the insides of it, but I just wanted to show you because it's kind of a hard video view, so you need to see the top. Pull this, top comes right off. Nice and simple, right? All right, showing you from a different angle, just pull it back, and the top pops right up. One of the things I do want to note, there is a helpful DIMM guide right here that shows you some of the slots and how they're numbered and the proper way to populate, which we'll show you here as well. But just in case, if you are using this at home, just know that you do have this inside your machine, which is very helpful. All right, so now let's actually talk about that. So first thing, I have to say this just because I thought it was funny when I opened this up. I saw this heatsink, and I was like, man, what designer got a hold of this heatsink? I thought it was kind of funny. It's got this nice little crazy dip in here, and it looks pretty cool. But I thought it was kind of funny because I had never seen a heatsink just like this, and there's no actual purpose for it going this high up with the dip in the middle outside of just some designer. So I thought it was pretty funny. So anyhow, as far as the memory is concerned, if you're only, let's just say, installing 2 DIMMs inside this machine as opposed to 4, which I would personally try to talk you out of it and to load all 4 of them up, and to load all 4 of them up with 8 gigs for that matter. But if you are only putting in 2 DIMMs, the proper way to do it is to put them inside the start of each channel. And there are 2 channels, and each channel has 2 DIMMs per channel. And the channels are color-coded and labeled for that matter, so it makes it really helpful. The start of the channel is the white DIMM slot, so this slot right here that I just pushed forward is DIMM slot 1, and this other white slot that I'm pushing forward right now is DIMM slot 2, and then it's going to come back around, and this is going to be DIMM slot 3, and then DIMM slot 4, okay? So again, if you're only putting in 2 DIMMs, the best way to do it is DIMM 1 and DIMM 2, okay? Now again, as I mentioned, you should put them in all 4 and just max this thing out. For the cost these days, you'll get such a boost in performance that realistically, there's no great reason not to. Anyhow, okay, let's go ahead and open it all up. and I'm going to show you how to physically install them. One of the things I do like to note is I always like to open all my tabs first. Just makes it a little bit easier to go ahead and put the DIMMs in so I'm not fumbling around while I'm installing them. And another note that I always like to point out before we get started, there is a notch right here in the middle. This is known as a key. This key is very important because it prevents users from, one, putting in the wrong memory, but it also is important for how you line the module up inside the DIMM slot, because the the notch is not in the center, so you need to make sure that you line it up properly. So I'll go ahead and show you. We're going to install it in DIMM slot 1, the white slot right here. And another thing I do like to note when you put it in, you'll see the module, it's resting there. I'm not holding it. It looks like the module is fully inserted. However, it is not, and this is a common error that we hear all the time. A customer thinks that they have a bad DIMM, and really the DIMM's just not properly seated. So you want to hear these 2 clicks right here. Click 1, click 2. So basically what you're hearing is there are these notches on the side of the modules, and the tab will come up, clip the notch, and then pull the leads down into the socket itself. And this is really important because if the module, like I said, doesn't get fully inserted, then it will not register, and it'll basically look like you have a bad DIMM in there, and it again is just a loading issue, and it's very common. I always tell people, I don't really care if you've been a technician for 20 years or this is your first day on the job. It's a really easy mistake to make that all of us have done at some point. I did it in our videos last week. I put some stuff in, and then I looked at the very end, and this is also a good note. You'll notice, you see how this tab is still kind of sticking out over here compared to the 2 white ones. That's because the module's not fully inserted. So I always tell people at the very end to double check just to make sure that you don't have any tabs sticking out a little bit, because if you do, then guess what? You didn't fully put that one all the way in, and then again, it's just such an easy mistake. And also, if you're at home and you're not a real technician and you're using this as your desktop and you just want to do some memory upgrades and you don't want to call a technician out to do it for you, it's a very easy process. Don't be scared off and think you can't do it. It's really just as simple as what I just did there. Just make sure you line it up proper, put them in, and make sure the tabs are closed up. It's really just that easy. So anyhow, now that we've done it, we've upgraded to 32 gigs for the T110, and yes, again, you can do 32 gigs with this machine. We're going to go ahead and put it back together and put the top back on. So you'll notice there's some tabs that stick out right here that we're just going to line up and put it back into place. So really just like that, it was that easy, and we've maxed out this machine. So if you have any questions or need to upgrade your T110, do us a favor, reach out to sales@cloudninjas.com. That's sales@cloudninjas.com. And hey, if you made it this far in the video, do us a favor and click that like and smash that subscribe. Hey, thanks again for stopping by. Have a great day. Bye.